Fit like a bee, Danny Boy here, and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2 on the UK map. It is time to do another drive along, another ride along even. Holy crap, that train made 801,000 quid. That's bad. Yeah, but we'll be riding on this LNER service from Aberdeen to London King's Cross, down the East Coast Mainline, departing Aberdeen to Dundee, Edinburgh, Berwick-upon-Tweed, Newcastle, York, Doncaster, and then into London. So class 43 here. It looks well used. We shall jump on board though. There we go, and we are off. Question: do we have to wait for the ScotRail train to pass? The answer is undoubtedly going to be yes, we do. So, our first bit of traffic to contend with, although it's not going to hold us up for too long, which is nice. There he goes, and off we go. So we'll be heading down past the oil refineries. You can sort of see just on the left hand side there one of the river tugs delivering some oil down there, which is a real shame. 3 words spring to mind: oil tanker mod. We need a decent sized seafaring oil tanker, not these river boats, not these tugs that are pushing barges. A decent seafaring, ocean dwelling ship that carries oil, and one that also carries bulk goods like logs, iron ore, coal, etc. We do have the Rostock, the Maersk Rostock, that's a container ship. That's a really cool mod. It works really well as well. Yeah, but it'd be nice to have an oil tanker mod. Love this train here, this class 43 in the ScotRail livery. Again, it also looks well used. Trucks, oil tanker trucks on the right, oil tanker trucks on the left. As we cross over the bridge here, speed is limited. I think this is a 53 or 57 or whatever the speed limit is on these old school bridges. But it looks like the train doesn't get to that speed anyway, so we are all good. Now there should be a fair bit of traffic on this line as we head down south. There should be a real mix of freight and passenger services. There are absolutely no freight services here at the moment. That's strange. Oh well. It's the same every time I do a ride along. All the trains on the map seem to disappear into the ether. I think they're maybe shy. They don't like being in the limelight. Probably because they're so incredibly dirty. I mean, a train wash mod would be awesome. Sending a train to a depot to get maintenance really should be a thing that's in the game. Maybe another one of those options that could be toggled on and off. And maybe a cool little train wash as well. Have the train pass through. Caledonian Sleeper there on the left. Probably heading to Aberdeen and then off to Elgin and then Inverness. We did the Caledonian Sleeper ride along from London to Inverness, through the sunset, through the night, into the daytime, into the morning, which was interesting. It looked fine when recorded at night. On here, it looked incredibly dark on the actual YouTube video. Depending on what device you watched it on. I heard some people watched it on like a mobile and things, and it was like, man, couldn't see a thing. And some other people that have watched it on like a large screen TV, and I was like, yeah, everything looked great. I was like, okay. So it just depends what your media platform or your viewing platform preference is. But here we go around to Dundee. I'm surprised we're actually not getting stuck coming into Dundee. We will soon be passing the very hideous looking Tay bridge that I built, that I really should rework I am getting better at building bridges. I have been practicing. Some of them do require the odd individually placed bridge pillar support. That's okay though. It's a small price to pay for having the different mods available. It's nice to have these different bridges that we can actually use, which is awesome. So we'll be loading up here. There was a lot of passengers waiting in the station, but I think only a few of them actually want to get on this service. I think most of them want to get on the Glasgow Aberdeen service. That train that we just passed briefly as we came out of Aberdeen. The other Class 43 ScotRail livery. I think everyone wants to go on that, although we are getting 115 people, which is pretty decent. That's okay, it's a decent number for a train. There are buses in Dundee. It's one of those few cities that actually has a commuter route, so that's why there are probably more people. I thought there would be more trains around this area. I mean, the freight trains do branch off and head off to the right hand side of where we are now, because the freight station is at the other side, the opposite side of Dundee of where the passenger station is located. So they sort of shimmy on and branch off and go a different way, so you don't really see them. But there should be other ones that sort of head up from the south up to Aberdeen that do pass through this route. We'll maybe see them later. And here we go, passing the... Oh man, this bridge is so bad. I actually hate it. I loathe this bridge now. I was trying to do, because the Tay Bridge, which is actually a large river right here. I think this Tay River is actually longer than the Forth River just ahead of us. But yeah, the Tay Bridge does have like a lower sided guardrail at the side, and then it has like sort of a higher, I don't know, sort of trestles or whatever you want to call them in the middle, and then it goes back to being low sided at the other side. But the angle of attack, the train climbs up and reaches the height while it's basically almost on land, and then it's flat all the way across the river. Not this weird arc bridge that I've built back there that looks stupid. But here we go though, crossing the suspension bridge here. I really do like the suspension bridges in Transport Fever 2. I think we got them in a patch. They were a nice addition. I think somebody modded them, and then within like a couple of weeks they were officially added to the game. But yeah, they're very nice. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the Forth Rail bridge to work. So the Forth Rail bridge can be downloaded on Steam, but it requires a bridge to be modded, a modded bridge to be downloaded from transportfever.net. And the Forth Rail bridge uses that other mod as a sort of template. Now, I did everything correctly. I even loaded it in the correct load order to get it to work. I tried it in a save game. I tried it on a brand new fresh start game. I could not get it to work, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because the Forth River back the way from where we just came, that's very small, and the bridge is actually quite large. We would have only have been able to fit about 1/3 of the bridge mod to cross over that river. Now there are other maps. There's the Central Belt sort of Scotland map. There are maps that are just Scotland. I think there is a map that is just the sort of Forth River area, and the river is much larger, where you probably could fit the entire mod to its design in real life across the body of water. Or you could maybe just maybe if the river is too small, you can use the terrain tools and maybe push the sides, the banks out to make the river wider to try and fit it in. You don't necessarily have to have it above water. I mean, it should be, but yeah, if you can fit it in, maybe make a compromise, maybe have sort of a quarter of each end, maybe over the land, and still pull off getting all the sections in, and it looks good and you're happy with it, then so be it. But we would have never have been able to fit it back over that river. It would have been way too big. It would have been a shadow, a poor throwback to the bridge in real life. So I wasn't too fussed that it didn't really work. It would have never fitted. It would have looked kind of stupid. So we went with the Golden Gate suspension bridge as a replacement, and the suspension bridges look amazing. So I am gonna try and get it to work. Now, it wasn't that the game was crashing. What happens is the bridge is not a placeable bridge. It's not a buildable bridge. It's not a click and drag a section of track over water, and it is an option to select that type of bridge. The bridge comes as in assets, and you build it up. You build it up section by section, and then you can then place rails over the top of it to where the rails are supposed to go at the correct height, etc. That's how the bridge is built. But in my game, the assets weren't appearing, or one or two of them would, but the rest of them wouldn't. Apparently they were in a different sort of asset, under a different asset icon. But I checked everywhere and I couldn't find them, and then I did see some comments saying that other people also had only received certain parts of the bridge, and some people's games it was crashing. It was to do with that, apparently to do with the template from the transportfever.net, that mod. I'd used that mod before, but whenever I tried to place it as well, because it's a nice bridge also, it also would crash the game. So there were multiple issues that were associated with building the actual fourth rail bridge that I just sort of gave up on. And then it would have been all for naught, because it would not fit. It would look stupid. So that idea was removed. But it is a really nice bridge. I think the Colonel Failure did actually build one on his, I can't remember what he called the series. Not the recent Japan one, but the one he did before that. He built it out and it looked really good. So here we are approaching Berwick upon Tweed. That Turbo Star, that Transpennine Turbo Star that was in front of us, really hauled ass there. It was gone. Quick little train that. We might actually catch up to it in here, but I would say it's probably well on its way to Newcastle by now. There we go, Berwick upon Tweed. There might actually be passengers here as well, because this is one of those rare towns that has a commuter service. That is a weird looking bank that we just passed there. Never seen a bank like that. Oh, there it is, it's leaving. It's leaving the station now. So we did kind of catch up in it. Actually, we're going to have to wait for it to leave. That sucks. I thought you were way ahead there, little buddy. There we go, freight tracks on the left. We should see more freight trains. This is quite a busy section for freight trains and other services. There are an extreme amount of people waiting on the right hand side of this platform. More people that can fit in this train, but there are other LNER services that run along here also. So, and some cross-country ones. I don't know if the cross-country ones stop here, but they definitely go through here because there's no other way for them to get round. Berwick upon Tweed. Let's see if we get a full load here. Or perhaps maybe these people want to jump on a different service. So 72 on board currently. $86. That's pretty low. I genuinely thought this was going to jump up to be a full load. Hello there, ScotRail freight service. Cargo wagon. It sure is. Okay, so we are continuing on, going down to Newcastle. That ScotRail freight service can go on its merry way pretty much unimpeded. Nothing's going to get in its way. It's just going to continue on because it's on a separate line from us, which is good. It's something I really should have done more in this playthrough. Now, there are some people that did say, were like, oh, why do you keep doing separate lines? In the UK, freight and passenger share a main line, which is absolutely true. But this is not real life, and this map is extremely compressed, and as we saw down in the sort of Cardiff area, etc., and there are other areas that passenger trains basically become gridlocked because there are so many freight trains on the line. If you were playing with money on, and you are actually playing the game as intended to, it would absolutely make sense if you had freight running on a separate line. Because every second a passenger train or freight train is hindered or stopped waiting for another train to move, you are losing money. Albeit building the separate lines is going to cost you money to begin with. It's also going to add maintenance cost. It is going to pay off at the end because goods are going to move faster and be delivered more frequently, giving you more money. So there's a tip for you. Try and limit the amount of trains that are running on one track, because once they get bricked by other trains, that's it, you've had it. Profits will literally go into free fall, as they have done on this playthrough. But I've not really been playing this map with the intention of making money. This is a poor man's attempt at rebuilding the UK train network. And we are definitely a very far stone's throw away from what the UK rail network is in real life. But hey ho, we work with the tools that we have. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've come to love this map. It served its purpose extremely well. Kudos to the map maker, I forget his name. There are also a lot of people also asked for this map as well. I know some other peoples are doing playthroughs and they've changed up some different cities, etc. So if you are one of those people, let me know. Let me know how you're getting on with your UK map. I mean, there are other UK maps to choose from, but this is the one I went with, and I think there's different variants of this map now, which is kind of cool. But this is the one I sort of did a little bit of tinkering with terrain and things at the start, and then just sort of added cities that I wanted to add, or removed cities that I wanted to add as we went along. I removed some of the cities in Ireland, definitely some of the cities in France, because we didn't really need them. It didn't make sense to have them. Also, it frees up a bit more frames here and there, because the game has less cities to sort of factor in. But it was all for naught, because I think I added even more cities than what there was originally on the map when we started. And the goal at the start of this was to try and reduce cities, and we ended up with more. But only ones that really made sense. Places like Preston, Wigan, Crawley, Shrewsbury. Where else did we add? We added a few: Colchester, Doncaster, Kings Lynn. These were all places that did not exist on this map, and we added them in. There's probably more. I just forget. Perth was definitely one of them. I think Aviemore was definitely one of them. Thurso was definitely a town that we added. Ayr Ayr was also another town that we added. So yeah, there's lots of places that. Sunderland, just on the left hand side here, another place we added so that we could run the Grand Central trains, which is kind of cool. But here we are heading off down to York, so say goodbye to the coastline. Leeds. Leeds coming up on the right hand side just past York. That was another one we added. So passing the airport on the left, Remigio's classic airport, the Art Deco one that looks amazing. He really is the master when it comes to airports. His airports mods are amazing. And then we've got our Newcastle sort of freight hub to the right hand side there. There's a train departing, that's nice. And then we continue on. We should see some Grand Central trains appearing on the horizon. I actually do like the Grand Central orange and black livery. It definitely sets it apart from everything else that's train company wise in the UK for a colour scheme. And it's one of the things I love about having countries with privatised rail networks, is because you have different rail companies, you have different liveries, you have different trains. It's brilliant. So one train company may favour, like for say diesels, another company may favour electrics. They've all got their own sort of colour scheme. When one rail company goes defunct, the assets, trains, etc. get handed over to another company, or maybe it gets bought over or rebranded. So the liveries and paint jobs and trains are forever changing, which is really nice. As opposed to maybe a country that's got something like state-run railways, where they only use one sort of type of train, there's only really one livery, etc. That's kind of boring. But yeah, having the different rail networks is great. I mean, things like trains in France and Germany. Now, I think SNCF, is that state-owned or is that a private company? I don't know. Someone will know. Also, the sort of Deutsche Bahn rail system in Germany, is that a privately owned company or is it state-owned? The thing is, though, their trains, albeit most of them are the same, some of their trains have really epic liveries that look really nice. They've got some gnarly wraps on their trains, and they look awesome. So there is definitely the variation there. I've just noticed something. See that plane up there is actually going through clouds, and you can see the difference. I did not know that the game did that. I thought those clouds in the skybox were literally just a placeholder that didn't affect anything, but it definitely affected that plane up there as it was flying through them. So that's pretty cool. I did actually watch a documentary the other day about railroads in America, and how like Americans have sort of gone away from rail travel, and like Amtrak is state owned, it's owned by the government, but it never makes any money. And it's a real shame, because I know there are some epic train routes that you can jump on in America that take you from east coast to west coast, north to south. And there's lots of nice routes that Amtrak do, and it's got the sleeper service. And it's a real shame that they don't make any money. And America's in the weird situation where normally everywhere else freight trains bow down to passenger trains. So in Europe, passenger trains basically would take precedence, because you want people to get to where they need to go on time. So a passenger train, in my opinion, would always take precedence over a freight train. But in America, passenger trains sort of bow down to freight. Most of the rail lines in America are owned by freight rail companies. And the freight rail companies either don't allow passenger trains on the routes because it either slows freight down, or they charge them extortionate prices to use the rails, the infrastructure, for the trains to run, which seems absurd, but that's the way it rolls. I was reading things like Amtrak wanted to extend out a route or something, but the CSX freight train operator would not allow them to use the previous tracks that were built and used, operated and funded and maintained by them. So that was that. That route was sort of knocked in the head. Then it was showing you all the different iconic rail companies that you used to get in America and how they've all sort of gone. They're all sort of done and dusted. The major freight companies are still there: Union Pacific, CSX, Norfolk Southern. What else is still on the go? Canadian National, although it's Canadian. Yeah, but most of the services have gone. And they also did a segment about how there are very few high-speed trains in America, which is odd considering how large it is. You would think they would want more high-speed trains, but everyone just goes by plane or car. But yeah, they are. It did say that they were actively trying to revive train travel in America and get routes out to more sort of desolate places that are maybe cut off. But it's weird because, like, obviously in Alaska they have the Denali Star, and the Denali Star is basically a lifeline for people who live out in the wilderness. So they get off the train in the middle of nowhere, they build a house, a cabin, and it's normally quite near where the train line is, and they literally rely on that train coming back and forth, bringing them goods, medicine, mail, food. If any of their equipment breaks down, it goes on the train, it gets taken into the nearest town, someone fixes it, it gets taken back by the train. So without the train, they would be toast. So it's sort of weird. Probably Alaska is the only where the trains in the US are properly appreciated. Here we go though, into Doncaster. Not far to go now, we can sort of see the destination just up ahead. Really this train should go through Stevenage, but we don't have Stevenage, so we're not going through there. But yeah, I would like to do an American playthrough. There is tons of freight mods. We just need some of the older steam engines. Some of the iconic steam engines are missing that were in Transport Fever 1. One of the things that really annoyed me was that Transport Fever 1, if you had the American vehicle selected, it had the Pacific, the Grizzly. Was it a Grizzly? No, can't remember what it was, but it was a Pacific that was in Hiawatha livery, and it looked great. But there were no Hiawatha liveried coaches in the vanilla vehicles to select for it, so you had to select a different coach, and it always looked stupid until some king amongst men actually modded the Pullman coaches with the Hiawatha livery, and then once you added that to the actual train, it looked amazing. So thanks again to the mod makers. But I've not seen them. I don't know, because I've not played with the vanilla American vehicles in Transport Fever, so I don't know if the Hiawatha is still there. It maybe is, but I can guarantee you there's no vanilla coaches for it. And also, I've not seen any modded Hiawatha coaches. Like the F7 trains and the, what were the other ones? The PB something, the Alcos, that were really cool. That came as a triple unit, Now with Transport Fever 1, there were tons of different liveries and repaints for the different railways, for those, the F7s and the Alcos, but there's none. There's none anymore. There's a couple here and there, but the rest of them have all gone, and it's really sad. It makes it sometimes makes me doubt whether doing an American playthrough is worth doing, because so many iconic trains and things that you actually need are missing. And it's something that's really annoying. If you build out a train but you don't have either a vanilla asset or modded asset before to build out that train, and you have to maybe take something from a different region, Asia, Europe, it looks stupid. Everyone knows, even if you had never seen a train before in your life, you might look at it and go, that doesn't look right, and it doesn't. Oh, Peterborough. Peterborough was the next stop, not Stevenage. Why did I think Stevenage? And why did I forget that I had Peterborough on the map? Oh well, who knows. Point in case was, when I was doing this series over in Ireland way back when, I was making alcohol, and then I was flying it out across to the UK and to France and stuff, using like the FedEx DC-10s and stuff like that, just so I could sort of use them, because they looked pretty cool. And one of the things I had to do was ship grain by train to wherever it was in Ireland, to where the alcohol distillery was. Now, when I went on to, or at the time, there wasn't the CW315's poly bulk grain wagons. In fact, there were no grain wagons at all for UK trains. Now, I know this because I'd searched high and low, transportfever.net, Steam Workshop. I had to use the red standard vanilla hopper wagon from the depot, and it created outrage between a few people. A few people were straight in the comments saying, "Hey, why are you using this? This is actually used in like Germany and Austria. They don't use it here in the UK." And you could tell that they didn't, because the Freightliner train that I had added to the front of the consist looked really stupid. Actually looked really small in comparison. The scale wasn't the same. The wagons were definitely much larger than the Freightliner unit that I was running. And it looked stupid. And I knew it was the wrong ones, and some other people picked up that it was also the wrong ones. But it was all I sort of had. So some other people were commenting, it's like, oh, there's tons of UK wagon mods on Steam Workshop and transportfever.net. And I was like, yes, that's true, there is, but there is no wagon that carries grain, or there wasn't one at the time. And then people were like, oh no, you're lying, there definitely is. And then one of the guys came back and was like, I apologise, I have been on Steam Workshop and I have noticed that yes, there are no wagons that currently take grain for UK trains. And I was like, yes, I know. And that's one of the things that sort of puts me off playthroughs, is that if the particular vehicle, wagon, etc. you need at the time is not there, if it's not a vanilla asset, if it's not been modded, then you need to pick something from somewhere else. And then you know inside, like, this is wrong, other people are going to know that it's wrong. Then it kind of puts me off from doing playthroughs for maps, for like the upcoming playthroughs. I mean, the other day that I noticed on Steam Workshop, there were a lot of trains like from Croatia, and I was like, that's cool. But there were no wagons, there's no coaches, there's no sort of liveried freight wagons. There are a couple here and there, but not enough to do a full playthrough. You'd just be using the same assets over and over and over again. Everything would look generic and the same. Or it would look really repetitive. Everything would just look... You'd be using the same train, consist, etc. over and over again. And it's a real shame, because that could be something that's cool. There's probably absolutely someone out there who would use them or be able to use them. I would love to be able to use them. I'd love to do a sort of Russia and the sort of East sort of playthrough with the old school Soviet states. That'd be kind of cool, because there are certain countries, I think Bulgaria is one of them, there's a lot of Bulgarian trains and coaches and wagons for it that look really good, and you probably could do a full playthrough with that. But yeah, it's difficult, and it sort of puts me off the fact that sometimes you might need something and it's not going to be there, and then you'd have to add something from a different region and it's going to look dumb. So there's my little rant about that. But we're here. We're at London's King's Cross. This is the Selmy King's Cross station. Selmy's been doing playthroughs and high detailing videos on YouTube as well, so you should go and check him out because they are pretty epic. Now this station is really epic as well, and he did actually do, I think it was Anglo-Saxon, was it, that did the tutorial on how to build this, which was awesome as well, because without it I would never have managed. But here we are, LNER, Aberdeen to London on the East Coast Mainline, done and dusted. Nice. So we shall leave it there for that episode. We'll jump on another train for the next one, possibly an Avanti West Coast number. That would be nice. We'll leave it there. So as always, if you did watch this and you would like to leave a like, comment or dislike, please feel free to do so. And if there is more you would like to see in the future, then hit that subscribe button. I've been Danny Boy, this has been Transport Fever 2 on the UK map, and I will catch you later.